So the question that a lot of comic book fans ask is, how do we get back to the roots? How do we get back to emphasizing great art, great character building, and awesome storytelling? And how do we change the landscape, which seems to prioritize a checkbox of diversity over all of the things I just mentioned? So the ultimate question, I guess, is how do we combat the social justice left in comics? Now, this nonsense not only exists in the final material or the product, but you have to understand there's a lot of filters before you get the end result. Therefore, there's way more moving parts that are allowing this to happen. But ultimately, we just want to get back to what made us fall in love with the industry in the first place. I have a few suggestions. The first, start calling the bluff of these commentators, these loud commentators online. I have to mention that I've said numerous times, right? I am no gatekeeper of comics, nor will I ever try to be. I want more and more people to be a part of this hobby. If you are only a comic book fan based on like the movies and the comic book characters and have no connection to the comics themselves, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mentioned that there are two main tiers of comic fans: the nerds like myself that spend all of this money and read the hell out of them, and then there are those who just know of the characters and watch the cartoons and maybe some of the movies. It doesn't matter what tier you belong to, you are good in my book. However, I only start taking issue with these tier 2 types and these non-comic book fans when they start pretending they know what the hell they are talking about. That's where these social justice types come in, as they have zero connection to the source material, continuity, or canon, that is. Remember, in my other videos where I talked about the left infiltrating arts over the decades, they will go wherever they can to simply ruin what already exists and already has a following. That's what they have been doing for the longest. It just so happens to be more noticeable in comics right now. And in online discourse, because you can Google a lot of information, these people are able to pretend as if they have read any comic. But that's the unique thing about the comics, is that some of the characters have existed for long periods of time, and not all of that information and individual details are available. You would have had to own the comics to really know. You can always tell who knows what, because these fools will Google something and copy and paste whatever wiki page and then present it as fact. And you'll see these reoccurring things like, man, you guys are getting this from the same shit. It's like that one stupid ass girl that got me one of those suspensions on Twitter, who became so hell-bent on lecturing comic book fans that have grown tired of this nonsense. She does this live stream that I watched on YouTube, and in the background of her spot, there's nothing that indicates that she is a fan of comics. Sure, maybe in that particular side of the house, I guess there's nothing, but also maybe she's just a person that's trying to infest the industry and has little ties to these characters. I've had too many social justice types try to lecture me and go complete ghost when I tell them to reference individual issues to support their claims. Where are your prints? Where are your boxes of comics? So I think calling these fools on their bluffs is a really useful tactic, because it separates the real from the fake. The fakes are loud, man, as they are, because really they aren't being combated enough, but are being heard by these producers, right? So the funny thing is that the producers become confused, right? When people don't buy these comics. Well, social justice types don't buy comics. Sure, I'm positive there are some actual nerds that are social justice warriors, but they aren't as plentiful, if you will, as the internet may make it seem. Those stan and yes girls are not the ones that go to the comic book shop every Wednesday. Everything that they do is for ops, it's for virtue signaling, it's for the sake of throwing themselves into a conversation. They have no connection to the source materials, and that's why they have no problem ruining it. They just want to use its established following to push their agendas. This is why I appreciate the rise of hardcore fans that are becoming these commentators. My second suggestion, and perhaps the most important, you have to fight back. I know in this day and age that taking a position against these social justice types may come with consequences, as more and more people bow down to their demands. They will slander, they will lie on your name, and in some extreme cases, they may dox you. But they will not stop until multiple people continue to speak unapologetically against it, especially those that are actual workers and grinders in this industry. But you cannot compromise with them, and you certainly can't apologize for offending them, because they won't stop. Their whole idea is to use their social media hype beast to put pressure on you and thus eliminate your voice from the matter. So if you legitimately do nothing like wrong, there's nothing to apologize for. Just double down and tell them to f off. Many other comic book YouTubers have done a great job in connecting the community and bringing people out of the shadows, because they know they aren't alone, and that is important. Of course, the obvious way is to vote with your dollar. But when you consider the crooked crap that many of these mainstream producers really pull off to inflate sales and pressure these retailers, that in itself is not going to be enough. I think there has to be a combination of that, of course, along with some of the things that I've mentioned. So the commentators, the buyers, the retailers, the writers, the artists, and so forth have to get out there and be a part of the change that they want to see. So be passionate, be unapologetic when combating these dimwits. Trust me, you are not alone.